Hey guys, welcome. We got the InMotion V13 here, just doing a routine maintenance checkup. I noticed some of the air suspension inside the wheel were about 100 miles on the wheel, and if you tip it back on the back side, of course I have the kickstand right there, as you can see, but if you tip it back you can access from the front right here, and if you look inside that cavity right there, you can reach your hand in there and you can feel that the dampener rod, listen, you can hear, has a metal shake. This will cause vibration. These right here are good and snug, and these are your air shocks right here. Those are snug, but on top of the dampening, this side's loose, and that'll cause a little shake. And no matter if you do your little 2.5 millimeter tightening on here, if your bolt up on top is loose, it's still going to vibrate. So let me show you how to tighten those just as a maintenance system. This side doesn't have a rattle shake when I stick my hand in there. Of course, that one's opposite the other side. I can literally feel the linkage. Actually, it might have a very light shake, so we're going to tighten both of them. Let me show you how to do that real quick. This might help you a little bit. They don't really explain this much in the manual. So we'll come around to the top. Of course, I've got the Clark Pad bumper setup system. Took the back of the Clark Pad bumper system off. You've got this regular orange device that comes with the wheel, and this is made to tighten your dampening either left or right. When you stick this side on top, if you notice, that fits right there, and that little traction is to make it totally dampened, which I'm totally dampened. But then this other side that is grooved, if you look inside your dampening, there's a little pin that sticks on it, and that's actually tightening the top nut of your dampening bar. So you'll want to make sure that's tight, because you'll have play that develops. So let me get my tool and I'll show you what we're going to do. Alright guys, as you can see, independent from the, I got my flashlight on there, independent from the dampening screw wheel, there is behind it, there's a little lever, and that tightens the bolt on top of your dampening system without messing with the actual dampening dial. So watch this, watch how loose this is. And I felt the little bit of rattling. So you want to get this little groove lined up behind the dampening screw. Watch this, see that? That's not even touching the adjuster, okay? We're just tightening the top of the damper because it became loose. That was a lot of turning right there, and that didn't even touch the dampener. Let's test the other side. I think this is something that a lot of people maintenance-wise overlook. This is not dampening your machine. It's literally tightening the top bolt on your shock dampener to make sure, don't over tighten, just make sure it's snug, because your dampeners will become loose. Let's go ahead and stick my hand in here now, kind of see if it feels snug now. That is beautiful. Okay guys, there's no rattle on the top of my dampener. Let's test the other side. My whole dampening system was, the entire cylinder that holds your whole wheel up was shaking. That'll cause your wheel to vibrate, okay? So you want to tighten both sides up. Don't over tighten, just make them snug. I keep my dampener at full right turns anyway, just because I like full dampening, but I'm not over cranking these, okay? It's a maintenance thing. Every 100 miles you want to come in here, they loosen up. Just imagine all the vibrations that you go over. I'm not adjusting the dampener right now. It's literally just adjusting, tightening the top of the shock. Then what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and tighten the top of the air shock. If you notice right there, there's a little cleat. If you can see that orange thing clicks on it, that tightens the top of the dampener. And then this other one's top of your air shock. So we're going to make sure those are tight as well with a different size wrench. but that's something that's not covered in the manual and hardly anybody's showing a detailed video on. So go ahead and tighten both sides. Don't make them too tight, just a nice little, you'll feel what's tight enough. Don't over crank, okay? And then I keep my dampeners tight, but you can adjust your dampeners however you want. What you want to do for adjusting your dampeners is turn this where you use this side, okay? And then you stick that on, and that's why there's traction here. Mine are both snug, not too snug, but just snug enough. I like full dampening. Totally clockwise turn. Counterclockwise would be less dampening, but that's why this tool has two different sides. This extra slot right here is made to go in and fit around that sleeve and tighten the top. You'll notice on Inmotion's YouTube video that they show just a quick little crank of tightening, and you feel like, what is he tightening when he slides the shock in and out? Anybody that's taking your wheel apart, you know what I'm talking about. But for those that don't, you need to tighten these to make sure you don't get vibration. So it's going to be a lot smoother ride. You also have, like I said, the little 2.5 millimeter hex under here that you can tighten, but that's for the shakedown here. But if you're loose up top, regardless how much you tighten these, it's still going to shake. So, you know, and these are still snug. You know, those don't get loose. You really don't want to mess with those. Just every now and then give them a quick little, you know, tension feel, but not too hard. So, guys, I hope that helps. A little Inmotion V13 dampening, tightening, and don't forget to go ahead and, while you have the wheel apart, to just make sure those tops of the air shocks are snug as well. I'm going to do that. I'll actually show you that real quick. Alright guys, got me a little, you can see, not exactly sure what that tip is called, but it's a star. Let's see if we can see that. A star tip. And just to make sure the top of the air shocks, we just did the dampening. The dampenings were completely loose, and that's why I was getting the rattle. And then up here is the air shock on top, and you got the dampening shock. We tightened the dampeners, and I'll go show you my air shock tops. That bolt is snug, no problem, because there's pressure. Remember, there's a lot of pressure on that shock cylinder, so it's not going to allow that to loosen up. Whereas the dampening is a free-floating spring in there, and that allows every rattle just to kind of loosen it. But remember, like I said, the top here is made for this orange tool. Okay, the reason why there's traction on this side is because you use that side to tighten in your just to adjust your dampening, but then you flip it around and it has that groove right there, and that's what adjusts the top nut to the top of the dampening system. Anybody that's taking their wheel apart, you'll know that's what you had to do. But you need to maintain these, because you'll think I'm getting a rattle, and really your dampeners are just loose. Even though you adjust the dampening bolts on the bottom underneath your pedals to snug it up, but you don't want to over snug those. I've heard of people stripping some of those because they can't get rid of the noise, and they keep tightening those tighter. That's going to limit your shock absorbers from bouncing up and down easily, because just think of clamping against the rail a little tighter where your shock absorbers have brakes on them. So you don't want to adjust those too tight. Tighten these up, then if you make sure your shocks are still working good, you may find that you've adjusted those under the pedals too tight, and then that'll cause metal to wear and be like a brake on your shock system. So anyway, just a little tip. Give it a thumbs up, like. This is Tennessee DIY, and we've gotten into the unicycle world, and it's awesome. Love it. But I'm just a little DIY for you to do. I love the Clark pad setup. Here's the pieces I took off. Got to put these back on the bumper set. They are wonderful. They I've got about 100 miles on the wheel, just taking it easy. It's my first wheel ever. Gotten up to about 27 miles per hour so far. I've had it for about a month, and I'm enjoying it. But just a little tidbit there you need to do. I would do that every 100 miles, and if you find after the next 100 miles that they haven't loosened it all, then you're good to go. May have just been an oversight when they put the new motor bolts on and not tighten those down. But I can see how the dampeners don't stay tight all the time. So they're a loose spring, whereas the air shocks keep pressure pushed into the cylinder. So those bolts don't have a chance to loosen, whereas these have a chance to loosen because they're just a dampening system. So anyway, that should help. Some of those noises and rattles that people can't explain or figure out with the suspension. Silky, silky smooth. So anyway, subscribe, thumbs up. Appreciate it.